look what we have here. That got old 30 years ago. Han. Easy there, big shooters. Ain't no reason for grumpy old men in space. Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Today, let's take a look at the Bandai SH Figuarts Star Wars The Force Awakens Han Solo and Star Wars The Last Jedi Luke Skywalker. Crate version. This is coming in a little bit late, but man, it's been a crazy month. It's been a crazy couple of months. So I'm kind of backlogged, but I had to get some Star Wars in there. That's my bread and butter. That's my first love. That's my first, well, at least when it comes to toys and going to the movies and stuff, that's my first memories. So Star Wars will always be near and dear. Marvel Comics and movies, I love. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, love. But Star Wars is the only line that I buy any and all figures. It doesn't matter if I have another version from a different company. I have to compare. I have to have them in my hands. I think if I had to narrow it down, which I hope I never have to, but I see that eventually coming, it'd probably be Star Wars. Looking at the packages here, it's your standard SH Figuarts fare. It's the black box. It's the copper motif for the sequels. Window, you can see most of everything that comes in the package. On the side, you get wanted poster promotional shots of both figures. You can see that Luke's package is significantly bigger. That's the Force, baby. On the back, more promotional shots of both figures, a bunch of warnings, unreadables, barcode. On the other side, some copper, some Star Wars logos, those holograms that cannot be pirated. On the bottom, more warnings, more unreadables. You're winning lottery numbers, but let's see what's going on in here. First up, though, I got a couple of these emblem stages with these. It's kind of a blind box thing. It's a promotion for the figures that's come out in the last month or so. Oh, yeah, I like this one. Imperial Cog. Rebel symbol, rebel symbol, rebel symbol. Well, close enough. Kind of model kitty. You have to put it together, but that works. Instructions. Okay, it looks like a swappable front of the head. Do not misplace. Yeah, do not misplace the tiny little plastic thing we're giving you. It looks like the lightsaber hilt splits and then goes in the hand. And then there's a loop for the unlit hilt. What you got hiding in here, hon? Several sets of hands. The holster, we saw this with the SH Figuarts A New Hope version where it's just swappable. The gun doesn't actually come out. Or blaster, sorry. And then there's a separate full blaster that goes in the hand. Getting them out of the package, I have a clear winner in my mind here, the one I prefer, but I'm not going to tell you until at the end of the review. But I'm blowing the surprise by choosing Luke to look at first. Looking at Luke's look, this is how I feel like I picture an old Luke in my head. It's kind of the natural progression that you think of, going from A New Hope to Return of the Jedi and then The Last Jedi. He's in his Return of the Jedi colors, but if you start looking at certain things, there's the A New Hope leg wrap, which I went back to the movie to make sure this is accurate. I don't think it was such a stark contrast in color, but it was a lighter color to the actual shoe and then darker wraps above it. Seeing it in action figure form or plastic form or just slightly off like this, it's really distracting. But again, get above that. The robe is very textured over the smoothness of the Return of the Jedi tunic, maybe. I really dig that the hood looks like it comes up from underneath, and then you have this sideways texture on the robe itself. But again, I can't help liking it as a look. In fact, I may like this look more than the other two looks from, I keep wanting to say Luke, the other two Lukes from The Last Jedi. You know, his white and brown island robes. This is his fighting gear. But here's where we get into my kind of problem with this figure. The likeness is there. You can definitely see Hamill in there, but as we've talked about several times before, he just has one of those faces that is hard to nail in plastic. I feel like he should be a little bit more thin, a little bit more gaunt, a little bit more sunken in the cheeks or something. There's just something off about this. It's a good effort, and I do like the paint job. It just doesn't scream Luke to me. But then there is Han, and even in shrunk down miniature plastic form, damn, this thing has some swagger. The little seam details on the jacket, the way they've made the plastic look like leather, it's just beautiful. Same goes for the belt, just all the little detail in here. The pants and boots are kind of plain, but that's the way it was in the movie. So once again, this is pretty much nailed. And like I talked about with Luke, looking at Han, they did a great job of making it look like this is the natural progression of his look. It calls back to his original appearances, but at the same time updated some things. I've always said the same thing about Harrison Ford as I say about Mark Hamill, that the likeness is really hard to get in plastic form, but I'll be damned if they didn't get really, really close here. The classic Ford asymmetry is going on where this eye looks a little bit more angry. This one's a little bit more open. And seeing it in HD like this, it looks comical, a little cartoony. But in natural light, away from the camera, it looks right. The hair is gray, but it has a wash in it, and then it has kind of a shimmer. It's kind of a silver. But again, you get away from it a little bit. You get it out of the bright, harsh lights, and I don't know, it just falls into place. As much as I like this Luke design, though, man, this cape. I went straight to cape, didn't I? This robe. What the? It was a little bit too easy to pop apart, wasn't it? There's some kind of swinging socket inside the torso. Then there's a ball joint at the hip. It goes under the robes, and it's really hard to see to get back together. But the robe really gets in the way. You try to bend over, which, oh, he's got some nice crunch, but actually, he's about to play some Quidditch or something like that. I understand there was no way around it. I mean, if they wanted to go for the look, because of the wrinkles, because of the detail, it had to come out a little bit thick and stiff, which is a shame because in the movie, this is when he's the most action-y. During the crate battle scene, you know? He can still get in poses, but that robe is always going to be sticking out. So I may have to go looking for some cloth option or something, but, well, actually, the hood is glued to that piece. That may be more trouble than it's worth. Also, you may have noticed when I picked him up and put him back down, he fell backwards. That was because I hadn't messed much with the ankles yet, and there is a shift there. If the ankle happens to be shifted forward and you try to stand him up, it drastically changes the center of balance. You see how far it shifts off center if you have it forward. You can get him to stand up if you lean him forward a little bit, but because of the cape and the center of gravity being off, if you're having that problem, shift the feet back on the legs right there. Go to stand him up and voila. With Han, I don't have a lot of problems here. His gun holster strap coming down around the leg does kind of get in the way, but that was to be expected. And really, if you force it, it does kind of get out of the way. Other than that, though, yeah. Going over articulation, there is a dumbbell joint at the top of the neck. Then there's a ball joint down at the bottom where you can get more movement to the whole head. Looks down, looks up. It's very easy to get that bottom, well, the neck out of center. Working together, oh, there's the tilt. Swivel, there's a butterfly joint in there that comes out. Then that comes out to a ball joint where you can shift up, shift down, shift forward, shift back, hinges out, and swivels around. Single elbow comes past 90. There's a ball joint at the wrist, which is kind of different from most SH Figuarts figures. With that, you get some movement around and then swivel. We talked about the waist. There's a ball joint, but then there's a ball on top of that where it works kind of like a dumbbell joint. Crunch, you try to get back. Oh, this is working against you. Some tilt. The lower tunic piece is split right here and right here, so it does kind of get out of the way of the leg. It doesn't have a drop down, but that's not terrible. Ain't getting no back, though. Oh. Damn it, I did it again. That ball isn't loose. It's actually a tight fit, but it just works like a lever. If you come up too far, pop, 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 pop. Then you have to blindly plug away again. So take it easy with the out, I guess. There's some swivel at that ball. Single knee, even if I could get around the robe, he's not going to kick his own ass, but not bad. And then there's a dumbbell joint at the ankle. That causes that shift forward and back, but it also allows for some rock, back, some forward. Again, you're going to be popping it apart if you pull too far. And then a toe joint goes most of the way up. For Han, same thing. There's a dumbbell at the top of the neck and then a ball joint at the bottom of the neck down inside the collar. So you can look down. Hair kind of gets in the way of up. Pretty nice tilt. Swivel. There's your butterfly joint assembly in there where you can pull out. Holster's going to fall off if you get too crazy. Then that comes out to a ball joint. Shift up, shift down, forward, back, hinges up, swivels around. Single elbow, past 90. Here's your traditional Figuarts wrist with the swivel, hinge, swivel. So you can get some up and down movement, but if you work it around, you can get side to side. Mid-torso ball joint and then waist ball joint together. Very nice crunch. May I have this dance? Arc back. Nice tilt. It swivels at both, so if you get one turn this way and this way, it's easy to get them out of center. No drop down to the hip, but it does come forward, goes back. Holster kind of gets in the way of out, but if you go the other way, well, it's about the same. Some swivel there. Single knee. Oh yeah, not getting there. But he's an old man, I guess. Goes back a little bit, goes forward a little bit. I can understand wanting to keep the integrity of the boot, but I also like a lot of motion there. Nice rocker though. And then toe joint, about there. For accessories, Luke comes with two kind of relaxed hands. And then he comes with Oh, well, look at that. The right hand is a ball joint, I guess because of the depth of the glove in there. And then the left wrist is your more traditional Figuarts wrist. Isn't that just wacky? Also, pushing and pulling on this, I realized that the arm inside the sleeve is also a separate piece. Ooh, Bandai, you gotta sort your hand tolerances out. I had to heat this up. Well, it's still kind of soft, so it's going to pop back off. That was nearly impossible to stick on there without some heat. But then he comes with 2 grip hands. He also comes with an ignited lightsaber. We've seen this hilt many a time before. It's no surprise that it looks fantastic. It's got the red button. It's got the black windshield wiper looking things down here, the silver. That splits apart in the middle. Put that in his hand. And then the peg is shaped in a way where it only fits one place. There's also an unlit hilt. Same thing, just without the blade in it, except there is a hoop right there. A hook on the belt, and that just bloop. That looks pretty good. Focus on this little tiny thing right here. Comes with the dice from the Falcon. It's a nice little throw in with Luke. And it's not bad detail for being such a small little tiny piece. Come here. Then besides the relaxed head, it splits right here, which isn't my favorite way of doing this. I'd prefer just a whole different head because you can see the seam line. I mean, there's some figures that they do really well with, but then there's some that you can just see the whole thing. Front comes off. I said the front comes off. Give me that. Put the alternate face piece on there, and you get kind of the windswept action look to it. It's the same thing. It resembles Mark Hamill, but I don't think of this look as full-on Luke. But it does kind of match the original SH Figuarts windswept head for Return of the Jedi. For Han, we get 2 fists. Hopefully these are much... Oh, no. They're not going to be. 2 relaxed hands. Whatever. And then a right trigger finger hand, which again, I had to heat up to get on there. You don't have to add too much heat. They soften up really, really quick, but... With the holster, there is one with the blaster in it. You just pull that off. Plug the one in that doesn't have the blaster to, simulate that it's been pulled out. And then it comes with a blaster he can hold in his hand. It's very, well, I'm not sure if this is the exact blaster. Height-wise, Luke stands at about 5 3/4, while Han stands at about 6 inches. Here's Luke with the other SH Figuarts Last Jedi Luke, and then the Figuarts A New Hope Luke. It's a good match between these two, and then a nice continuity between these two. For some reason, I like this likeness a lot better. But maybe because it's softer, it's grayer. This one's got a grit to it. It's got a dirtiness. It's got a darkness. I don't know. Here it is with the SH Figuarts, I think the Last Jedi Kylo Ren, and then Figuarts Last Jedi Rey. And then the Black Series Luke that we got in the white robes matches up pretty nicely in scale to the new one. That's a custom casting cave head. That original Black Series one was no. And then the SH Figuarts Return of the Jedi Luke, which is, I think, my first SH Figuarts figure ever. But you can again see some of the elements pulled from both of these to this costume, which is why this is probably my favorite look for Old Man Luke, even though it was his own mind's eye of himself, I guess. And then for Han, here is both of my SH Figuarts A New Hope Hans. This is the original release, but on mine it had a cataract on one eye. It was really whited out, so I got a custom casting cave for that one. But then they re-released it, and the one I got there had a much better eye paint. So here's the second release, but the original head. But then here he is with the Hasbro Black Series The Force Awakens Han and Leia. Valiant effort on Hasbro's part. I kind of like this figure, but man, Bandai takes it above and beyond. And I don't see Bandai ever making this, so I may have to repaint the head or wait for a photo reel, something there. So at the end of the day, 2 fantastic additions to my Star Wars shelf, but definitely not perfect. Okay, maybe Han is close, and Luke is very, very passable. I don't know, there's just a frustration level with Luke that you gotta bring some points off on him. There's a traffic cone aspect that I do not care for in my action figures. But I will say the overall look appeals to me because, I mean, like I've said several times, this is how I would think of an old Luke if I didn't have any movie or anything to go by. But Han, he definitely knocks the Black Series figure off the shelf. This is an amazing upgrade to that figure. The look, the feel, the proportions, the stance, again, the swagger, it's just all Han Solo. So consider me happy with both of these. Han more than Luke, but Luke kind of fits on the shelf as he had several different looks in that movie. It's just the Luke fashion show on the shelf. But the Black Series Han, it now goes to the tub, where I keep some of my other Black Series stuff where the faces were... And now I need a Leia to go with this Han, so I don't know if that'll ever come along, but for the moment, I'll take my wins where I can get them. So if you enjoyed the review, comment, like, subscribe, or whatever the platform you're watching this on allows. Much love to the plus. If you want to see the videos early, or you're just in a position to support the channel, head over to patreon.com. But wherever you may be watching this, I'll always catch you on the Fwoosh.